For 15 years, you've trusted us to protect, clean, and restore your kicks. Now it's our turn to give back. Starting July 31st, we're kicking off our 15 years of fresh celebration with a week full of unforgettable giveaway prizes and a massive sale. Make sure you subscribe to our channel, following us on Instagram, and plugged into our Rejuvenator newsletter to stay in the loop. Thank you everyone for making the last 15 years incredible. What is up everybody? I'm Vick Almighty. Welcome back to the channel. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel because today's video is going to be a banger. I'm on a mission to create an entire Jordan Fusion line that Nike's never created. I already created the black cement Jordan 3 and Jordan 4 Fusion, the Hair 6 and 7. Today, I'm tackling the Jordan 2 and 3. Nike already kind of created the Jordan 2 and 3 low, but my version is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to be doing the Jordan 3 upper on a Jordan 2 sole, Jordan 2 upper on a Jordan 3 sole with some other details. I'm not gonna lie, this project had me stumped for a few weeks trying to figure out the right shoes to purchase and the right colorway to go with. Ultimately, I had to go with 4 pairs of sneakers for this project to bring my vision to life. Now for this Fusion line, I only want to go with original colorways. I already used the black cements and hairs. For this one, I'm thinking fire red. The Jordan 2 and 3 silhouettes are very different from each other. I'm hoping at the end these shoes don't look inorganic or forced. So for the breakdown of these shoes, on the white and red Jordan 2s, these are from 2014. I was looking for a used pair on eBay. I ended up buying these for 60 bucks. I only needed them for the tongues. Over here, I bought the Origin 2s. This right here is a really nice shoe. The shape is beautiful, beautiful leather. The colorway is nice. It's got classic vibes. However, it's still not totally there to make it make sense with the fire red 3s by themselves. The red sock liner clashes. The green details on the shoe also don't work to swap onto the fire reds. I would have loved to use this tongue. It's almost perfect. However, on the Wings logo, it's green. Now at the moment, I have way too many shoes on my desk. I need to start breaking them down. I'm gonna start with the easiest one, and that is the white and red 2s. Now at this point, I gotta make sure I'm taking apart the correct sneakers. One thing I am doing with this Fusion line, I'm making sure all the uppers are in sequential order. I did that with the 3 and 4, 6 and 7. I'm gonna continue that now. This is the one I'm gonna be using for the upper. Gotta put this to the side. The left sneaker of the fire reds is what I'll be using for the upper. For those two, they will get separated using a different method. As far as these two go, I will be using acetone and some heat to separate the uppers from the soles because the soles is all I need for this project. But before I do that, I'm gonna take out the laces, insoles, tongues, back tab, and anything else I might need for a future project. Oh, my fingers.
Johnny, that really hurts.
Anytime I take apart a pair of sneakers, there's always parts to put into the boneyard. For example, if I'm doing a sole swap, I just need to use the midsole for the project. But on the rest of the upper, there's always the tongue, the lace, insole, plastic hardware, and other details that you can save for future projects. That's how I've been able to build my boneyard over the years. Even if there's a part you don't think you're gonna need, still save it, you never know. Right now I'm gonna pour some acetone into the sneakers, let it sit for a second, then I'm gonna take them back inside, then with the heat from the steamer, finish melting the glue. Now when it comes to this process, you can either save the upper or the sole. In this case, I'm saving the sole. When you pour acetone on the upper, it automatically ruins it. Same thing with the heat. For those of you that always ask, why do I separate the shoes using a screwdriver and not acetone? This is what happens to your uppers. Don't do it. Soles are fully removed. Just a heads up, we have construction going on here at Rejuvenator headquarters. Right behind this wall, there's a jackhammer making a big hole into the concrete. If you hear some noise, just ignore it. You only have to hear it for a little bit. I have to hear it all day. As far as these shoes go, I'm gonna do the opposite. I'm gonna remove the soles in order to save the uppers using the screwdriver method. It's a time-consuming process. A lot of you guys say to use acetone or the hot water method. Trust me, I've tried it, it doesn't work. I'll do whatever it takes to make sure the uppers don't get damaged, even if that means taking the extra time to do so. For this process, like I mentioned, is very time consuming. You wanna make sure the screwdriver is extremely hot in order to melt the glue. All you gotta do is put a little bit of blue tape on the uppers. I use blue tape because it leaves the least amount of adhesive on the uppers while I do this step. For the screwdriver, just slide it between the upper and the sole until you hit the full 360. This process can be time consuming. Sometimes it takes between an hour to 2 hours, depending on the shoe. All in all, it took about 2 hours to separate the 2s and the 3s. My hands are beat. We're moving. We got both soles removed from both uppers. Now there is a lot of polyurethane left on the uppers. I want to get that out the way so I can have a clean base to work with. I'm going to be using the Dremel real quick inside. Usually I go outside to do this step. However, here in Arizona, it's about 115 degrees. No way I'm going outside. Now that the soles are off the uppers, I'm gonna start taking pieces off the uppers. For example, on the 3 and 4, 6 and 7 project, I removed the tongues and back tabs. I'm gonna do the same thing with the tongues. So at the end of this project, the Jordan 3 tongue is staying on the 2 tongue and vice versa. The one thing I'm not gonna do though, switch the back tabs. I'm gonna go ahead and take the tongues off using a blade from the inside of the shoe. This right here is the result of breaking down 4 sneakers, but for the most part, this is everything I need to complete the project. The right fire red Jordan 3 upper, the left cement gray Jordan 2 upper, the Jordan 2 sole from the Origin 2s, fire red sole, that's gonna go on the left side, Jordan 2 tongue from the 2014s, fire red tongue, and these off-white plastic eyelets from the cement gray Jordan 2s. Once everything's pieced together, it's gonna start to make sense. Off camera, I started to mess around with these parts, and honestly, I'm starting to feel a lot better about this project. Everything for the most part, I think is gonna work out nicely. None of it looks too unnatural. Let me show you. Starting with the Jordan 2 upper, let's put it on the 3 sole. Now you guys have kind of seen this, but in a low top version. This is what it looks like in a high top. With some small modifications, this upper is gonna fit on the sole nicely. I am gonna be putting the Jordan 3 tongue on there. That's an issue that I'm gonna run into later. I want it to sit right around here, nice and high. The thing is, there's a huge gap right here missing. I'm gonna have to figure that one out later. But for the most part, looks pretty sick. Now on the opposite side, originally I had a completely different vision. I was gonna take some inspiration from the OG 88 kid size Jordan 3. I've only seen a couple images. Basically, it's just a Jordan 3 upper sitting on a Jordan 2 sole without the plastic heel cup with a Jordan 4 patch on the tongue. Super clean shoe, one that I've never seen in person and one that I would love to recreate. I was hoping for this one I could get close to that 88 version, but once I started to mess around with it, I realized it really wasn't gonna work. On the 2014 white and red Jordan 2s, I went ahead and separated those off camera. This is the sole right here. This is what it would look like without the plastic heel cup. I went ahead and chopped it off. This is what it looks like with the Jordan 3 upper. Now in this front area, it doesn't look bad. It kind of looks like the 88 kid version, but in the back, the Jordan 3 midsole sat pretty high. In order for me to cover up all those original marks, I would have to drop this upper pretty low. That's roughly where it's gotta sit. It honestly looks incomplete, it looks awkward, it looks like the sneaker's kind of flat, especially when you compare it to the back of the Jordan 2 upper with the Jordan 3 sole. This one just looks way more high top than this one. It's just not gonna work. So an idea that came to mind on the Origin 2 sole, what I did was I grabbed some scissors and I just chopped off the top piece. By doing so, I think the Jordan 3 upper is gonna sit a lot nicer on this Jordan 2 sole. Check this out. I'm still not fully done with deconstruction. On the Jordan 3 upper, I gotta remove the plastic eyelets and the back tab. The reason for that is, if you look at the other pieces, the Jordan 2 upper, this piece specifically, these pieces, the Jordan 2 sole, even the heel cup, all of those elements are cream. When you look at the Jordan 3 upper, the plastic back tab and these pieces are white. Honestly, all of those pieces are clashing with these white pieces, so I'm gonna go ahead and take them off and properly age them. It's gonna take a lot of work just to do that step, but at the end, it's gonna be well worth it. I'm gonna remove the back tab, the eyelets, and in the Jordan 2, I still have to remove all the white eyelets. A little thinner, but it fits perfectly. These will work. All right, that tab is on there. So I'm gonna heat it up in the center. That's where all the glue is. Hopefully that helps weaken the glue. All right, this is giving me a hard time. The tab is still on there. Maybe I didn't apply enough heat, but I don't wanna apply too much and possibly warp the tab. So the next thing I'm gonna try is some acetone. Got some right here in this little jar. I'm gonna pick it up with the syringe, pour very little on that area. Hopefully that kills the glue. Definitely killed the glue and the back tab in that process. Let's just go ahead and finish ripping it off then. Thankfully, we got the back out. Now this is the aging step using some coffee. The Jordan 2 midsole with the cage on the back is a cream tone. The opposite side on the Fire Red 3 sole, it's completely white. Same thing with the back tab. I want everything to have a nice look, so I'm gonna heat up some coffee, throw everything in this pan, Put the sole and the back tab inside for a good 5 minutes or so. I'm not trying to get these super yellow. I just gotta get rid of this white. Once the coffee's all ready to go, we'll put the stuff inside. Coffee's ready to go. I'm gonna keep the Jordan 2 on the side just so I can make sure I can match it. I don't wanna overdo it. It's probably only gonna take a good 3 to 5 minutes to get the perfect tone. Got the back tab right here also. Thank God I have a replacement. This thing could have cost me the whole project. All right, I'm more or so on the 7-minute mark. I'm thinking the back tab is done. It's kind of hard to tell, but the brightness of that white is gone. The sole is also basically ready as well. I'm just gonna let it sit for another minute or so. Sometimes when you rinse it, it removes some of the color. I wanna make sure it's on point. Perfect, let's go rinse these. Oh gee. All right, real quick, let's take care of some prep work. On the midsoles, Jordan 2 and 3, there's a ton of old glue that's gotta come off. I'll be using 3 different drill bits, a steel drill bit for the toe cap on the Jordan 3, and 2 60-grit sanding bits, one that's bigger and one that's smaller, to take care of the rest of the polyurethane. Some of the prep work is out the way. We still have more to go. We'll do that later though. For now, we have to apply some simulated stitching onto the upper and to other pieces of the shoe before we can start piecing stuff back together. Got my light gray, charcoal gray, white, and cream. One thing that I did do though off camera, I did some experimenting on the tongues. Originally, I bought the 2014 white and red Jordan 2s because of the red liner and the black and red wings logo. The thing is though, the Origins 2 tongue is also very similar. The only difference is the wings logo. Instead of the black, it's green. That's the only detail that's throwing it off, but the rest of the tongue is actually perfect. So what I did was, I got an X-Acto knife and I cut off all the stitching all around very carefully and popped off the wings logo. Came out super easy. Did the exact same thing with the 2014 tongue. Got the black and red logo out. Now with some stitching, some glue, it's gonna look factory. This tongue's way better than the original 2014. It's got a better shape to it, and the shade of red is gonna match the fire reds perfectly. As far as the stitching goes, the cream is gonna be for the back tab. On this Jordan 2 cup, there's one line right here, another line on the opposite. For the fire red 3 upper, we gotta apply some light gray stitching right here on this panel and on the opposite. I also gotta lay down some charcoal gray stitching on the elephant print, and of course, the tongue. All I need is a needle. So this is what you guys get to see throughout this whole process. This is my vision throughout the whole process. Basically shadow boxing with the POV stick. Now this next step is crucial to ending up with a good shape at the end of this project. I gotta create the new glue line before I can Dremel and apply some new glue. I gotta cover up all the original glue lines from the old midsole. This part's always tricky. You're combining 2 different sneakers that don't go together. For example, in the past on the Jordan 6 and 7 Fusion, I had to do a lot of leather filler. Days and days worth of work. On this one, I'm trying to avoid so. I think I can make it happen. I just gotta make sure nothing looks wonky on any side. I kinda started the process already. You can see some marks right here, some on the back, and same thing with the Jordan 2 upper. For this process, I'll be using a heat removable pen. I'll outline it, then I'll Dremel. All right, new glue lines are applied. Took about 45 minutes to make sure that it was accurate. Looks good to me. Now for this part, I will be using a Dremel with a 60 grit sanding bit. I'm gonna go over the entire bottom area on both sneakers. While I'm at it, I'm also gonna be taking care of the back tab spot. I'm only gonna be Dremeling this white area on the inside and gray spot to get it ready for the back tab. Prep is complete, now moving on to the tongues. Gotta get these ready for the uppers. I should have no issues with the Jordan 2 tongue. It's pretty long. It's all about adjusting the height. I don't want it to sit too low or too high. Once I find the correct placement, I'm gonna go ahead and make my mark, cut the excess, and sew it in place with the sewing machine. On the opposite side is where I'm gonna have an issue. This is the Jordan 3 tongue. On the Jordan 2 upper, I want it to sit right around here. Problem is, there's a huge gap. I went into the recent boneyard and got the right fire red. For the most part, it got destroyed by the heat and acetone, but some of the elephant print is still in great condition. So I cut off one of the pieces that wasn't damaged by the acetone. What I'm thinking about doing is placing this right on the bottom, giving me some extra length. Once it's sewn onto the tongue, I'll sew it onto the shoe, It's a little sloppy, but you get what I'm trying to say. That'll sew into the shoe nicely while solving two things. It gives me length on the tongue, and it also helps me in a creative way implement the elephant print. So I'm gonna go ahead, find the perfect placement, glue it down, then go to the machine and lay down a quick stitch line. Prep on the first tongue is down. Now for this one, I'm gonna go ahead and put it inside. Thinking about putting it right around there. There's holes on the tongue. I'm using that as my guide to make sure it's lined up perfectly. Thinking about covering this hole right there, and that'll be the perfect height. I'm gonna make my mark and cut the excess. I'm gonna take care of this real quick. All over the Jordan 2 upper, there's a ton of white metal eyelets. There's about 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I want to remove 8 of them. I want to replace them with some red ones in just a bit. But first, I'm gonna remove them using some pliers. These things are locked in, gotta be careful. I'm gonna do this from the inside. Glue's been fully applied, it's fully cured. Before I can bond the soles onto the uppers, I gotta take care of the tongues. I'm gonna take care of the 2 upper with the 3 tongue first. Before I can heat up the tongue to attach it onto the upper and go to the post bed to lock it in place, I gotta do one quick thing. I removed the white eyelet pieces. I'm gonna replace them with some red ones so it can match the fire red nicely. I did one off camera already. I'm gonna do the other one on camera. Perfect shade of red, perfect size. I'm gonna pop it in place, then with the puncher, lock it in. Perfect. Just like that. Now I still gotta do the top pieces, we'll do that later. Let's take care of the tongue first. All right, that looks good. It's lined up nicely. Let me do the same thing on the 3 upper and the 2 tongue. First, let me get this wing logo inside. I'm gonna paste it inside first, heat it up to bond it. Then I'll do the same thing with the tongue onto the shoe, and then we'll take both pieces to the post bed. Tongues are in place, it's starting to come together. Now we gotta put the back tab back on. Same thing with the plastic eyelets on the Jordan 3 upper. After that, we'll move on to the soles. For the soles and uppers, I lay down some tape right in the front, a little bit in the back as well. Those are my center point indicators to make sure I can line up everything perfectly with the sole and upper so nothing's wonky. For the back tab, it's the exact same concept. I gotta make sure everything lines up perfectly. When it's crooked, you can tell right away by the air. Now for this piece, all I gotta do is put it inside, heat it up, and it should be locked in place. All right, honestly, this came out pretty clean. If you look at the front of the Jordan 2 and 3 sole, it's pretty symmetrical on both sides. Same thing with the back. This one was a pretty natural fit. On this side, this one came out great as well, but this was more of a Frankenstein. It's not as natural. I did have to do a little bit more finessing when it came to the glue job in order to get the upper to fit nicely on the sole. The plastic heel cup in the back of the Jordan 2 really helped out big time. If it wasn't for that, the upper would have sit really wonky on the sole, and honestly, it would have ruined the project. Now this left shoe, for the most part, is ready to be worn. The only thing that's missing is the stitching. Over here, it's almost ready to be worn as well. Both sneakers are wearable. The thing with this one though is, if you look at the inside, the Jordan 3 ends right around here. Then there's a pretty big gap before we get to the bottom of the Jordan 2. If I was to put my foot inside, it would fit really unnatural. A way to fix that is, I grabbed some EVA foam, a pretty thick piece. I grabbed some tape originally, put it on the inside to get a pattern, laid it out on EVA foam, cut it out, then I got the Dremel and fully shaped it all around. So you can see, shaped the sides, created a beautiful ramp so it could fit nicely on my foot. Same thing with the bottom. It already has glue applied. I'm gonna stick it inside, heat it up. That way, if I was to wear the shoe, it will fit a lot more comfortable. Plus, it's gonna give me an inch worth of height. All right, that's a perfect fit and perfect height. Now I'm gonna use the original elasting board that I removed from the Jordan 2 Origin. It also has the foam that I removed. Once I place it back inside, it's gonna fill it right in perfectly. Good to go with the 3 upper, 2 sole. Coming back to this one, to make it fully wearable, let me apply the stitching to the toe cap. Getting pretty close to finishing up this custom. On the back, I'm gonna touch up the Nike with some red. I got the process going already. It's a very tedious process. I gotta take my time. I'm already about 30 minutes in and I haven't even touched the end. For this process, I'll be using some fire red paint, pretty close to all the red shades on both sneakers, and a small detail brush. All right, done with that step. That came out nice and clean. Red Nike text to match the red Nike on the back tab. I also went ahead and added a little bit of cream around that rectangle to also go with the back tab and the rest of the cream accents. Now to finish the job so I can lace up the sneaker, I gotta finish putting back the metal eyelets. I already got a few in place, just need 5 more to go. If you guys are doing this at home, 4mm is a perfect size for the Jordan 2. Let's go ahead and lock them in with the puncher. This right here is the best feeling after any long project. Let's lace it up. Customs are all done. Now for all the fusion projects that I've done, I like to combine the boxes into one sick one. This one that I created for the 2s and 3s is probably my favorite one so far. So basically what I did was I grabbed the bottom of the Jordan 3 box and I removed the lid. Then I grabbed the Jordan 2 box and I cut off the lid and I bonded them together to make the perfect box. So on top, you got the Wings logo that represents the 2s, and for the bottom, you got the elephant print that goes with the 3s. If Nike was to ever release a version like this is what they should make. I also went ahead and added all 4 labels that it took to make this one pair of sneakers. On the bottom, you got the Fire Reds, on top, Cement Gray 2s, over here, Origin 2s, and over here, the white and red Jordan 2s from 2014. This is the perfect box. I can't wait to put the sneakers inside. Now, as far as the customs go, check them out. These overall came out way better than I expected. If I had to pick one, ultimately, I'm gonna go with this one. This one just flows perfectly all around. One thing that I didn't notice until my friend Jordan pointed it out, the heel cup on the Jordan 2 is angled perfectly with the Jordan 3 midsole. So you can see the line just goes perfectly down. Trust me, that's accidental. I didn't do that on purpose, but I'm glad it worked out that way. It looks perfect. Now on the opposite side, this one's definitely more of a prototype version. It's wearable to an extent. As you can see in this back area, it's kind of angled a certain way. I tried it on, it doesn't fit weird, but at the same time, your shoe isn't technically supposed to look like this. But for a Frankenstein, this is pretty sick. Now when you look at both shoes together, they definitely do look like a pack. I was kind of concerned that they were not gonna look very close to each other. Now when it comes to these fusions, they take a long time to create. The process itself took a good 50 to 60 hours. Before all that, I spent countless hours just trying to figure out the perfect shoes to buy, the perfect colorway to go with. Ultimately, I'm super glad I went with the Fire Red colorway. Another alternative that I had was going with the Black Cement 2s and Black Cement 3s. That one would have been a little bit easier to create. It would have probably only taken 2 pairs of shoes. The thing with this fusion line that I'm trying to make, there's 13 shoes in total. So far, I created 3, the 3s and 4s, 2s and 3s, 6s and 7s. I'm trying to have every single shoe be a different colorway. I'm pretty sure at some point, I'm gonna have to reuse the same colorway. The thing I didn't wanna do was do the 2 and 3, 3 and 4, and all 4 of those sneakers be the Black Cement. So this is a good way to split up the OG colorways. When it comes to these type of projects, they are so much fun to make. They're basically Legos at this point. You could take an upper from this shoe, a midsole from over here, and a tongue from a different shoe and create something that's never been done before. I can't wait to display these with the rest of the fusions. 3 down, 10 more to go. I will say one thing though, if Carmelo Anthony was still in the NBA, I will make it a mission to make this shoe for him. He's a big Jordan 2 and 3 guy. I would remake this shoe in the Knicks or Nuggets colorway. It's definitely a shoe he would wear. Now, let's bring in the rest of the fusions. 2 and 3, the hair 6 and 7, the Black Cement 3 and 4. This fusion line is coming together. Now, I have some ideas for my next one. I'm thinking about going with the Aqua 8, combining it with the Jordan 9. This one's gonna be tricky. Let me know your thoughts on it, or if you have a different fusion in mind. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is Vic Almighty. I'll catch you guys next Monday. See you guys.